Hey, welcome everybody to Wednesday Wellness. We are so thrilled tonight to be able to talk tonight about heart health and have Dr. Hatch back again. We are all here. We all got to know each other through a company called LifeVantage. But anyone who has any questions about anything that you may hear that you want to know more about, just get back to the person who invited you here. And we encourage you to come back week after week as we continue these informational seminars so that you can be better and do more. So Dr. Hatch, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and take it away.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome. Glad to have you aboard. My name is Dr. Frank Hatch. I go by Bly outside of the office. So if you ever hear that, it's Dr. Bly. Don't get confused. I am the same person. All right. Happy Heart Health Month right now. I'm actually a chiropractor, been in practice for a little over 27 years, which has been amazing, and actually 28 years, coming on 28 years in March, in fact, so that I've been in practice. So I've actually had a great run, and I love the fact that I'm a chiropractor because I've been involved in nutrition all of my life. I've been from age 7 when I first got introduced to vitamins and supplements as a sick little kid. I started doing things and I changed my diet, and I'm thankful for that because it actually changed the path of my life forever and ever. So tonight, we're going to be talking about heart health. Is anybody concerned about that? Number one killer in the United States still, right? And when we start thinking about it, we think about how do we keep our heart healthy? What is it that we need to do? What are some tips that I can give you tonight? And as we were sitting here talking about it, Dr. Brimhall and myself yesterday did a Facebook Live for those that actually got to see it a little bit. It was a lot of fun. He was in Mesa. I was in Surprise, where I practice. And we did one via long distance. So it was kind of a new adventure for both of us, but it turned out to be really, really great. So I want to just talk about a couple of different things. And one of the most important things I want to talk about is omega fatty 3 acids. Okay. That's where I want to start our journey tonight on heart health and talk about the things of how do we help people become healthy through that. Now, a lot of you may not know that omega fatty 3 acids have a lot of different functions in the body. One of the most important functions it has, helps us produce energy, but it's also great for our brain. It's great for our heart. It's great for our vascular system. So when we start looking at omegas, when we started looking at, in particular, DHA and EPA, which you guys probably have heard of because those are the buzzwords out there, they actually help the body in reducing the inflammatory responses. So the more of the omega oils you take into your body, of the DHA and EPA, you actually start increasing the body's ability to reduce inflammation. Now, why is that so important? Because you know what? Inflammation, or let me go to another word we use here, oxidative stress, is the number one cause of heart disease. All right. And if you guys, I was talking to somebody today about oxidative stress, and they kind of gave me a funny look. And I said, do you know what oxidative stress is? And they said, no. I said, well, what happens if you put a piece of metal out in the rain and you leave it there? She says, I don't know. That's the first time I ever had that answer. So I kind of laughed. I says, it rusts, correct? And she says, yes. I says, that's oxidation. If you leave a piece of wood out in the rain or out in the weather, it actually oxidizes and becomes withered. You leave a piece of plastic in Arizona in the sun, it oxidizes, right? And then you pick up the piece of plastic, it breaks. And that's not a good thing. So oxidation is something that's happening. So when we use omega-3 oils, we're literally kicking the body's ability on to reduce inflammatory responses in the body. Okay, whether that's the brain, whether it's on a cellular level, because we don't realize that every cell, the outer component of a cell, and we got 75,000 or 75 trillion cells in our body. When we think about that, every outside of that cell is composed of fat. Okay, that's the protective, that's one of the building blocks in there. So it's really important. So when we're looking at that, our heart cells, we have millions of those, and they actually have tons of mitochondria in them, which is our energy, our power plant. So those are important. But omega-3 oils all play a component in helping and protecting the outside of the cell, as well as some in the inside of the cell. So we want to talk about omega fatty 3 acids because those are the things that we're looking at. How do we help our body? So I always tell people there's a few things. This is one of the things I put in my medicine cabinet. I have a medicine cabinet of nutrition, okay? And omega-3 oils are one of them. And everybody should come up with a little list of things that they put in their medicine cabinet, okay? Another thing that I put in my medicine cabinet is magnesium, okay? And I think magnesium is really important because all the minerals and multivitamins that we take into our body interact and create a catalytic reactions or catalysts. They're catalysts. They actually create reactions in our body. They create energy. They increase certain stress response hormones. We have to have zinc and magnesium and calcium and potassium, okay, to have those interactions. So it's really important. So that's another thing I recommend in your little repertoire of things is having a good multivitamin with minerals, because those are all the building blocks. We need those to help us have a healthy heart and a healthy overall nervous system and body. So the next thing I want to talk about is decreasing oxidative stress. Back in the day, when I first started into chiropractic, the things that we use to reduce oxidative stress was vitamin C. Okay, still amazing, right? I think vitamin C is very important, but that's a 1-to-1 ratio when we're trying to get rid of oxidation versus oxidative stress. We're just exchanging one antioxidant for one oxidative stress. Okay, so you have to take lots and lots of vitamin C. In fact, Dr. Linus Pauling wrote a whole book about it. He studied at Stanford University and did tons of research on vitamin C. And what he actually shared with us is with vitamin C is we have to take 15 to 20,000 milligrams of it, okay? He called it to the point of tolerance. And if you guys want to know what the point of tolerance is when you start having diarrhea, that's the point of tolerance. Then you back off a couple of thousand, right? Not always a good experience, but you took tons and tons of it. And Dr. Linus Pauling was known as Dr. Vitamin C. Amazing guy, lived into his 90s and taught a lot about antioxidants. Vitamin E was another one that we use as antioxidants, okay? Selenium and some of the other things like that were things we use for antioxidants. But thankfulness for research, learning more things and understanding more things. One of the coolest things we've found is we found that there are switches in our bodies, okay? And those switches are called different pathways. And one of them that I'm going to talk about tonight is called Nrf2 Pathway. It's a protein or an enzyme in your body that when we flip that switch on, guess what it does? It starts reducing the oxidative stress in our body, okay? Now we have the body making its own antioxidants. Now, one of the most powerful antioxidants that the body makes through this pathway is a thing called glutathione. Has anybody ever heard of glutathione? Okay, so glutathione is amazing. We used to give it when we started learning more about antioxidants, we found that glutathione was one of those big processes. We started giving glutathione out. Problem is about 70% of it was burned up in your gut acid. Okay, not a good thing. All right, so you're getting very little delivered to you. Then you have to deal with the residual of the destruction of that. So some of that was used to knock out the byproducts of that being destroyed by the stomach acid. So what we found is now we can actually use this Nrf2 pathway to flip on that switch that reduces the oxidative stress. And that's really cool. So there's certain things that can do it. And we know that when we look at different things such as turmeric, or we look at different things like milk thistle, those actually have an effect upon that, okay? And we can actually flip on those switches. But there's some things that when we start looking at those things, we know that there's certain things that actually flip on switches much more effectively, okay? And the person that invited you to this, I want you to get back with them and they can share a little more about some of those switches that are more effective that's out there. But let's talk about why oxidative stress, because this is the leading cause of all disease processes. It doesn't matter what it is. You can type it in pubmed.gov and you can find and type in any type of thing, cancer, and you'll see thousands of articles on it. You can type in Alzheimer's and you can see studies on it. So anything that's in oxidative stress, it's the cause of most disease processes. Okay, so realize going to PubMed is really, really important. So flipping on those switches are really important. Getting omega-3 oils into your body is really important. But let's talk about what else is really important. We need to not be static. We don't need to be just sitting still all the time. Okay? We need to be doing something. And one of the most important things you can do to help your body and your heart is you need to start walking. All right? Most people are sedentary. I mean, we go to a job, we sit in front of it. Right now, there's probably a lot more people not getting out and doing things because we're a little concerned about the COVID-19. And so there's people maybe not getting out and doing things. Well, start walking in your house if that's what you're concerned about. But I want you to start walking. Walk at least 20 minutes a day, every day. I recommend walking up to an hour. The more you can walk, the more you can start building that cardiovascular system. Now you start not only getting blood flowing through the body, but now you get nutrients delivered to those areas. You start activating those pathways even more that we just talked about. You start getting the body's essential fatty acids to the different cellular areas and to the heart. So the heart is a muscle, right? It's just like if we want to build a big, strong biceps, do we just sit there and look at it and say, build? No, we have to do something with it. All right. It doesn't. So we have to go get a weight and we have to start lifting that weight. And we start extending the muscle, stretching it out, and then we start shortening the muscle. All right. That's what walking is to the heart. It causes that heart to contract and expand and contract and expand. And the better that can contract and expand, the stronger the heart gets, the more blood flow we get through the body, and the more we can get blood out into our extremities and our lower body areas. When we don't do those things, we start getting crazy things like neuropathies and different things like that, which are not fun to deal with. And that's a whole different ballgame we can talk about. Okay. So walking is really important. Anybody stressed out? Anybody have emotional stress? Okay. Anybody have a job, a family, friends? Okay. We all have different things and different things occur in those relationships, right? And so sometimes they can create stressful situations. And so what we want to do is we know that when we're having negative things happening in our lives, it starts reducing our energy in our body. And we start just kind of getting deflated is a good way to put it. And it starts making us feel like there's hopelessness, helplessness. There's no joy in life. We start losing those things. So what I want you guys to start looking at is the emotional part of stress, because when we hear stress, we think of emotional things, right? When we're stressed, I'm stressed out. Oh my goodness. Have you guys ever noticed you hold your hand over your forehead when you get stressed out? That's God's way of telling us these are called neuroemotional points, okay? So when we get stressed out, we hold our hand over our forehead because that calms our brain, and these 2 points work with that area. So it's really, really important. So one of the things, hold on just a moment, there we go. So one of the things we want to do is create things that are going to create joy, happiness. How many people feel better when they have something that really makes them happy? Okay, we all do, right? So I always tell people, if you're having a struggle, okay, and let's say you're in your home by yourself, or let's say that you're having a stressful day at work, is there some place in your life that you love to go that just really, really makes you happy? Okay, I want you to think about that. So write that place down. And then what I want you to do when you get to that really, really happy place, I want you to get in an area when you can get somewhere and just go into either lying down, sitting up, whatever it may be, and you can hold your head over your forehead and go to that place and just visualize a pitcher of water, okay? Just like you're pouring something out of it. So if you got this here, you're just pouring that out of there. And I want you to start at the top of your head and start pouring that in, that happy place, okay, I call it. And let it start down and let it fill up your toes and go through your toes, your feet, your ankles, and just let it fill up through your legs and then up through your chest and up through your abdomen and your chest and all the way up. And then let it start flowing clear up to the point that it starts flowing out of your head. Now, why is that important? When we go to those places and we start having that fill our entire body, we want to share that with the universe. We want everybody else to do it, because when we share happiness, it improves not only our personal selves, but it improves the universe. And so we can help that. So when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling emotionally stressed, go to your happy space and start filling it up. A couple things you want to do. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the importance of gut health in our heart. Now, why is that really important? We don't think about gut health and heart, right? We don't connect them. But when we actually start putting the gut health and the heart together, the small intestines in Chinese acupuncture is coupled with the heart meridian. they're husband and wife, okay, in the 5 elemental law. And when there's an imbalance in our small intestines, and that's where we absorb most of our nutrients into our body as far as the building blocks, such as some of the vitamins, some of the minerals, some of the actual amino acids, so the things that give us energy. If there's conflict between the small intestines and the heart, now we start having issues there. And we don't have a whole night to talk about 5 elemental law, but if you ever want to look it up, look up the 5 elemental law of Chinese acupuncture, so you can understand how we have a creation cycle and a destructive cycle. Okay, but I don't want to get into that tonight. But gut health is really important, because if we're not absorbing nutrients into our body, and we don't have good probiotics and prebiotics and the things that we need in our gut, what ends up happening is now we begin to get a reduction of the minerals and the vitamins and the things that our body needs to start rebuilding and supporting our heart and our cardiovascular system, our vascular system. And if we don't have those building blocks, those things that open up, like OptiNitric is something that the body loves to have, or nitric acid, excuse me. Nitric acid, if we don't have nitric oxide coming into our body, guess what? We don't have vasodilation. And then we get tightened arteries, and we don't get the blood flow into the extremities. And then the heart has to work a lot harder. So getting that in there. So some of those nitric oxides and different things are literally produced in the gut. And so those are things that'll help the body become strong. So as we start working with this, make sure you're getting good prebiotics, good probiotics, good digestive enzymes. Make sure you're eating good. I had this conversation today with a lady that comes in, and she can't figure out why she's tired all the time. And I looked at her blood work, and her blood work is just off the chart with, guess what? Things that are showing inflammation, some of the inflammatory markers. And so we had this discussion, and I said, the thing that you need to do is you need to stay away from breads, pastas, carbohydrates. You need better fats into your body, into your diet. You need more vegetables into your diet. Those are the things that we need to be doing. We need to start adding those things into our diet. We all get cravings. Does anybody crave at around 5 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night? They're getting ready to go to bed, and they're like, I want ice cream. Okay. And we're sitting there going, oh, right. And especially chocolate ice cream. Okay. So that's my favorite food group, by the way. I spent a whole cruise eating chocolate ice cream, and then I go to the gym and run it off the next morning. But it was really a lot of fun. But I told somebody, I said, ice cream is something we get in and we start eating, or something of that nature. We start craving those foods because our body is deficient in the good fats that we need. So make sure you're getting good fats in. That helps heal our cells. Okay. Make sure you're avoiding those carbohydrates that make you crave foods at night. All right. And that's what you're. Does anybody get tired between about 5 and 7 in the evening? All of a sudden they're ready for a nap. Okay. That's because you're not putting good fuel back into your car. You're using the octane 87 versus the 91. Okay. We got to be putting good fuel into our car. So that's something that's really important. So with that being said, let me just kind of recap everything. The things we need to do: we need to add omega-3 oils into our body. We need to add antioxidants, and we need to add Nrf2 activators into our body. Okay. That's going to help us get that. We need to also get in an exercise program or routine, something that's very important. We got to exercise the heart just like we exercise a muscle. Okay. We exercise our brain when we're in front of the computer to the point it gets fatigued and we don't feel like doing anything. So make sure you're going out when you're feeling that point. That's the time you need to go out and start walking. Okay. Remember to reduce stress, have joy in your life, joy and happiness. Okay. That's what the heart's about. Okay. And then last thing is gut health. Make sure you're restoring good probiotics, good digestive enzymes, good prebiotics back into the gut so you can start building them back up. So with that, I'd like to just say thank you guys for joining. Get back with the person that shared this with you tonight. Ask them some questions specifically about the activators that I talked about tonight, and some of the omegas, as well as some of the other things that deal with gut health. Thank you guys so much for being on tonight. And Eileen, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I need to take notes. I'm going to rewatch this a couple of times. I love what you were sharing. Thank you, Dr. Hatch. I would like you to answer one question on the camera for all of us. So I know that one of the things we've talked about in other Wednesday Wellnesses is finding the right supplement, that magnesium you talked about, or the fish oils. What experience do you have as quality for prescribed ones, or even ones that are at Costco or ones we can buy at Walmart? How do I decide what fish oils might be the most effective with the DHA that you were talking about?
Right. So one of the things you want to realize is there's a couple of things you want to look at when you're looking for fish oils, because you can go to Costco or one of those places and buy a really big bottle, right? And we think bigger is better. That's just how we are trained. If it's bigger, it's better, by and large, whatever you want to call it, from that little movie they had years ago. What you want to be looking at is you want to be able to, when you're looking at a fish oil or a omega-3 oil, you want to look at what is its purity, okay? Because realize there's a lot of controversy and a lot of talk about mercury in the water, correct? And different things, the fish are getting exposed to it. I mean, our environment's not like it used to be. It's not clean. So you need to look at the source. And a lot of times the bottles that you pick up, you can actually look at it and see where it was manufactured and when it was manufactured, okay? And if it's got a date that shows that it was manufactured at a certain time, realize how much are you going to be taking of that and how soon. So one of the things I like about one of the products that we have with the company that I'm involved in is the fact that we know that from the time it's caught, processed, from the boat to the bottle, we know the whole history or tracking of it. So that's something that's really important. So if you can figure out the history and tracking of it, if you can't, you need to be really careful. I always look for things that give things that help us absorb it, such as predigestion or delivery system. So there's a bunch of different ways you can look at it, and I probably made that more muddy than I should have, but hopefully you can understand what I'm saying. But what you need to do is look for quality. Okay, look for quality.
And I think one of the other things that I've heard a few times is if it tastes like fish, you shouldn't be eating it.
Right, and that's actually a great thing. And if it tastes like fish, guess what? It's fermenting.
So, all right. Well, thank you. We're going to go ahead and turn off the recording, but we want to thank everyone for joining us. We will be back every Wednesday. Those of you who are here, we are going to do a question and answer period. And please invite your friends and family to this. We are going to continue. Suzanne Barker is going to be our guest next week, and she's going to be talking more about heart health and I think digestion with that, because that's her forte. So anyway, thank you everyone for coming tonight, and be well, get well, and stay well. Thanks for watching. And remember, one change can have an enormous effect. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell and the like, and we'll see you next time on Love to Live.